I don't think that we need to give everyone 5 minutes before we get started. I think we'll just kick things off. So thanks for being here today. I am not in the office. I see we have a few people showed up in person. Thank you for that. I am not there. I am homesick today. So hopefully you can hear me. I'm just actually getting my voice back. So let's go ahead and go around the room. Let me see who's in person and then on here virtually. If you could just say your name and who you're with, that'd be great. We'll start online. Oh yeah, go ahead.
So I'm Sunny Bryant. I'm the Deputy County Administrator with El Paso County, and I think I'm the only one in person aside from Jared.
Thanks for being there.
Yep.
All right, let's turn it over. Or I see some people just unmuting. Go ahead as you like.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Schroeder with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment.
Hello, everyone. My name is Clyde Sharp. I am also with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment as well. Thanks for having us.
Hey everyone, I'm Rick Coffin with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment as well.
Good afternoon, Chris Welch, Colorado Springs Utilities.
Hi there, I'm Katie Helm with the City of Fountain.
Hi, I'm Dina Wojtak with Two Roads Environmental here supporting the Pikes Peak Council of Governments.
Hi, I'm Bob Tomlinson. I'm the Environmental Quality Chief at Peterson Space Force Base and Cheyenne Mountain Space Force Station.
I'm Kevin Shrewsbury, Environmental Specialist at Colorado Springs Utilities.
Hello, I'm Amanda Brannon. I'm a lead environmental health specialist for the air quality program at El Paso County.
I am James Garrett. I'm from Montrose Environmental.
Hi, everyone. Ryan Trujillo, Mayor's Office, City of Colorado Springs.
Hello, I'm Brooke Weston. I'm with Fort Carson Air Quality Program.
All right, I think that was everyone. And if you feel free to interrupt if you didn't get to introduce yourself, but it looks like that's everyone on my screen. So you may have noticed we have a lot of people here today from CDPHE, and that is because they're going to be giving us a presentation. So I will kick it over to Jason. Are you able to share your screen, or do you need to share your screen?
Yeah, we will. Clyde, if you can bring that up, that'd be great.
Can you see that?
Got it.
Scroll back to the first slide.
Yeah, sorry about that.
There we go. Great. Awesome. Well, thanks for having us here. As I said, we're with the CDPHE and the Air Pollution Control Division, and I'm program manager for a relatively new program within APCD called the Air Toxics and Ozone Precursor Program. We like to call ourselves ATOPS because we just really like acronyms. We're just celebrating our second birthday this month, actually. So we are a pretty new program, and we were established as a result of several pieces of legislation that got passed within 2021 and 2022. And we really appreciate the opportunity to come to speak with all of you to talk about a new monitoring program specific to air toxics and the possibility of a collaboration for siting within El Paso County. Next slide, please, Clyde. The goal of this presentation is really just twofold. We want to give you a brief overview of what that monitoring program is and entails, as well as possibly discuss potential collaborations for identifying site locations. That's it. So next slide. So before I pass it off to Clyde, who's going to talk a little bit more about the technical details of the monitoring program, I wanted to give a little bit of an overview as to what's motivating this within the state. So back in 2022, the state legislation passed a bill called the Public Protections for Toxic Air Contaminants Act, or House Bill 22-1244. For those of you that really enjoy reading statute, you can go look it up with that number. And this is a pretty extensive air toxics program that stands up a number of new independent programs within APCD. And those are shown here on the screen. The first one is that it's the first time in Colorado that it establishes a reporting program for facilities for toxic air contaminants, or air toxics. And for those of you that may not know, those two words are relatively synonymous with some slight differences. It's just a matter of which compounds get classified into those two. The second component of the bill will establish health-based standards for 5 priority air toxics within Colorado. And that's well underway, and I believe in the rulemaking process already. This bill also will stand up a permitting needs assessment program to establish what types of permits and what are appropriate for facilities for their permitting of air toxics emissions. And lastly, it stands up an air toxics monitoring program, which is what we're here to talk about today. And with that, I will pass it over to Clyde, and he will explain to you a little bit about the program.
Great, thanks, Jason. So yeah, thank you all for taking the time to allow us to describe this program and our monitoring framework. So this is a photo of our original National Air Toxic Trends site. That's a NAT site in downtown Grand Junction, Colorado. This site has been in operation for 20 years. It's an EPA's NATS program and has sites all over the country and has well-established analytical methods and well-established data quality objectives. So we're using the NATS framework, and this will give us the ability to provide high-quality monitoring data. So this new state of Colorado House Bill 1244 monitoring program differs slightly from the EPA program in that 6 new Colorado monitoring sites and it expanded the compound list. These new sites would help Colorado establish long-term trends in air toxic concentrations and will prioritize monitoring in disproportionately impacted communities. So how did we decide on these 7 areas? This was a data-driven approach. The green circles that are our sites that are currently running. We have the Grand Junction site. It's that original NAT site that I just discussed, and that's been running for 20 years. And then there's the Adams County near Commerce City and Platteville. Both of those sites have been in operation about a year. So the colors on this map within the different regions in Colorado represent estimated risk from air toxics. The darker the colors, the higher the risk. And then the diamonds on the map are permitted stationary sources and are colored by emission rate, or pounds per year of emissions. So you can see these areas with the circles do have a large amount of sources. That combined with the estimated risk drove our decision to locate sites in these areas. So this was in an effort to better protect public health and capture emissions from a wide variety of source sectors and locations across Colorado. So the yellow circles are the areas proposed that we would like to establish: Jefferson County, Canyon City, Pueblo, and Colorado Springs. So this is why we're presenting here today. We're looking to establish these 3 new sites in the southern part of our state here. So identifying and monitoring site locations is a pretty complex process. The primary criteria we are balancing include capturing emissions from all sources impacting air quality in the region. So these sites are not intended to target any one source. They're designed to measure long-term trends of air toxic compounds and creating an understanding of air toxics in our ambient air to protect public health. This criteria would provide air quality information for the greatest number of residents, and this criteria is geographically representative across the state. The state of Colorado and these areas have historically been underrepresented for ambient air quality monitoring, and this program gives us an opportunity to add additional monitoring in these areas. So these criteria would also prioritize disproportionately impacted communities. So we also have to ensure that the site is logistically possible. So monitoring location, we would like to set up a site with a space for a 16-foot by 16-foot concrete pad and security fence. We will need access to electrical, and CDPHE will pay to install this electrical, and all of the work will be paid for by CDPHE. We will need unattended access to the site for staff operations and maintenance. We are prioritizing disproportionately impacted communities, and we are not targeting any one specific source. Again, these monitoring sites are designed to measure regional ambient air toxic compounds. And again, the state will pay for everything, and we just basically need to establish a land use agreement and permission to use this land. So there will be no cost or workload expectation from our land use partner. So the timeline, monitoring needs to be operational by July 1st, 2025. So we are a little bit behind the gun here. And ideally have location identified and have an executed agreement by the end of January 2025 to meet any construction deadlines. And then State of Colorado has an executed contract for our contractor to establish these sites. So I'm going to open it up to questions. If you guys have any, feel free to ask.
Hi, Clyde. This is Dwayne Dominguez over at El Paso County. I wanted to see if there is a hard deadline when you would like to have an answer for these proposed areas, proposed sites, the monitors.
Yeah, so we do have a deadline for monitoring, which is July 1st, 2025. So ideally, the sooner the better. We would have a land use agreement in place so that we could begin construction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think an important part too, is we fully recognize nobody's going to be able to like, oh yeah, I have a perfect piece of land, we can set it up tomorrow. Even just identifying possibilities and initiating conversations of that is incredibly valuable, as we recognize there's a lot of logistics to work through in these processes. So Dwayne, if you have some ideas, we're happy to collect your contact information and set up a time to discuss.
Sure thing.
Any other questions for the group? All right. So if anything comes up, if you think of a question later, if you would like to get in touch with each other, feel free to reach out to me or directly to Jason. Was your contact information in there?
We can certainly drop it in the chat.
Sure.
Here.
Yeah, sure. Drop it in the chat, and if you want to reach out, go ahead. And also, if that doesn't work out, feel free to reach out to me with any follow-up questions as well, and I can connect you.
Great. It looks like the chat's turned off for me. I'm not sure if that's for the whole group or.
Yeah, it looks like it is turned off. Jared, are you able to help us with that?
Yeah, I can turn it back on. We turn them off by default for meetings, just they tend to be more distracting than helpful. So I'll jump into settings and make that change.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, we'll get Jason and Clyde's contact information in the chat there. But if there's no other questions, we can move on. And thank you guys so much for presenting. It's a very interesting program that you're working on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, it
Really
looks like
appreciate
Dina
it.
does have a question.
So, hi, Jason. My question is for the sites that you already have in place, can you kind of speak to what kind of location are they? I mean, is it just in like an open area? Is it, related with some kind of government office? Is it near some kind of business area? Can you, what's the ideal spot for you?
Jason, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, good question. So historically, we typically work with local agencies or the divisions within because it's usually very easy to establish land use agreements with them. We've often worked with schools, we've worked with fire departments, we've worked with open space land. There's kind of a wide variety. So anything that the county, city, any land that the county or city owns is really the easiest thing for us to move forward with in terms of setting up use agreements. Private property is really challenging to work with. So we tend to work with more county or city-owned type properties.
We also have a few sites on colleges too.
That's true. And whether or not that's more in an urban environment or in an open environment really depends on the monitoring of the objectives of that particular situation. One of the most important factors for this one is that we're not establishing a site right next to a facility that would emit such that it's biasing our sampling consistently, because that's not the intent of this monitoring program.
So what about co-locating with existing monitoring sites that are in the Pikes Peak area? So like at Colorado College.
That is an option, and we are considering that. However, the one thing that Colorado College does not have is it's not listed as a disproportionately impacted area. It's very close to one. So that is really high on our list. But if we can actually get within an identified DI community, that would be our ideal situation.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Sorry, there, Jason's got his contact information in the chat, and looks like Clyde is working on his. So if you guys want to copy that, there it is. All right, thank you guys so much for being here, for talking to the group, and let us know if we can help further and if anyone needs connections.
Thank you, Angie.
Very much appreciated.
Okay, so we will move on in our agenda here. Which the next thing we have here is the ground rules for the AQTC. So, Jared, can you get that up on the screen? All right. So this is very much a draft. We wanted to put together some sort of rules of engagement for how this committee works together, just an effort to be more collaborative, in order to help the group be more productive and get done some meaningful air quality work. So this is, like I said, very much a draft. I'm going to go through these ground rules. Excuse me. Go through these ground rules. I am losing my voice, or in the process of getting it back, so I apologize. I'll go through these. I want to hear what you guys think about these ground rules, if they make sense, if they're too much, if they're too little, if we want to add or subtract. So the first one here is to be mentally and physically present. So This is, sorry, let me pull it up over here. This is an effort to just get everyone, if you're in the area, we encourage you to be there in person. I realize I say that from my home office today, but it makes sense when you're sick to stay home. So if it makes sense for you to stay home, do so. But if you can attend in person, that would be great, because we find that makes it more of a collaborative environment, gets people working together in real time. It's also easier to engage and talk to a real face. For virtual attendees, if it makes sense for you to have your camera on, we encourage you to do so. It's a lot easier to interact, again, with a real person's face rather than a blank screen with just 2 letters or something like that. So that is an encouragement. With that, practice active listening. Everyone knows that active listening is, right? So this means hearing what the person is saying, not just the words that are coming out of their mouth, and engaging with the content that they're trying to communicate. So listening and trying to develop some thoughtful feedback or response or engagement with the conversation. Number 3 is also about participation. So think of yourself as being the crew and not the passenger. In the AQTC meetings, I'm encouraging you to participate, be here, contribute to the conversation, to the thoughts and ideas that are part of this committee, rather than showing up and listening. I mean, it's good to listen. You should show up and listen, but only listening, not contributing. Try to participate if you can. Number 4 is also focusing on interests rather than positions. So we're all here for a shared goal, which is air quality. And we'll talk more about that in terms of our scope and purpose. But recognize that we're all trying to come at air quality from slightly different angles and be collaborative on air quality, rather than attack each other for maybe, not that anyone is doing anything wrong, but just making sure that we're working together on those things. And then lastly, share the air. If you're a dominant speaker, you speak all the time, you speak too much, maybe be mindful of that. And if you're more of a quiet participant, that's fine, but let's everyone try to find a way to participate. And if you're more engaged, maybe help to get those other less engaged people engaged. So this is just for getting the conversation started. Does anyone have any thoughts on these ground rules? Is it harsh? Is it a good start? What are your thoughts?
Hey, this is Rick from CDPHE. I'll just start real quick, and thanks. I like these. They make sense to me, and I'd like to try to come in person when I can. It's a little tougher coming from the Denver area, but I'll try to make it when my schedule allows, for sure. So yeah, thanks for putting this together.
Yeah, and I want to speak to that, Rick. That's another thing that came up when we were making this list. And this is up for discussion, of course, as far as being in person. Would it make sense to encourage everyone to attend every meeting in person, or do we want to do maybe a quarterly in person or something to that effect? That's definitely up to the groups. See what the group thinks on that.
Hi, Angie, it's Dwayne, El Paso County Public Health. Being on other committees and groups that meet regularly, I always find it helpful, beneficial, that we're alternating between in-person and virtual, just because we know sometimes it's a little bit harder for some people to travel or whatnot. But I did find it beneficial to provide the option of, or at least having the pieces in place for having an in-person and then alternating into a virtual.
Great, thanks for that. We'll definitely keep both options available for meetings. But I am interested if anyone has a preference on the frequency that we meet in person versus not.
Hey, Angie, Chris Welch, Colorado Springs Utilities. First, I just wanted to say, I think this is a really, really good start to ground rules and kind of support the ideas that you've presented to the group today. On the topic of in-person attendance versus virtual attendance, I share the view you kind of lined out that there is more value to in-person attendance, not only as it means to like meeting contribution, but even some of the discussions and relationship building that can happen before meetings, after meetings, et cetera. I think that fosters a lot of more engagement. That being said, I do like the idea of maintaining flexibility, even if it's encouraged for in-person attendance, that there be the option at any one of the meetings that there, even if it's encouraged in person, there's a remote option available to folks as well, depending on what schedules look like. Travel might not be an option for folks for specific meetings. So I'd propose keeping it a little more open and flexible, even if it's encouraged for in-person attendance.
Great. Thank you. Other thoughts on ground rules? You could also use the reaction buttons if you have a thumbs up, a thumbs down, a angry face, a heart, whatever you want to do.
Hey again, Katie Helm with Fountain Utilities. I think this is great. I'm really glad you put it together. I feel like this group has definitely lost some connectivity since Samantha left. I feel like there was a lot more organization in regular meetings and action items. There was a lot more dialogue. So I feel like this is a really great foundational piece to get us back on track and contributing more. I like the idea of kind of in line with what Chris said. I think there's a lot of value in having in-person meetings. It helps with relationship building and then also just collaboration because we're in person actively participating. So as far as the frequency, I don't know. I guess it would really depend on the occurrence of the meeting where it lands. But yeah, like everyone else said, I think it's nice to have that flexibility of joining in person or virtually.
Great, thank you. Okay, so if no one has any objections, do we want to, or any edits? We can continue to think about how the virtual versus in-person works. But as far as the rest of the ground rules, move forward as a yes. No one objects to these ground rules. And thumbs ups. Cool. Great. Thanks, everybody. All right, well, we will continue to move forward more collaboratively, hopefully, with these ground rules, and totally agree with the point of, that this group hasn't met in a long time. It's kind of been disbanded, and we are still trying to figure out, our feet underneath of us and what is our purpose, what is our goals. So that brings us to the next agenda item, which is this very, very draft scope and purpose. So we took the liberty of just writing up what we thought was who is the AQTC and what is the purpose. This is also a very much a working draft that we want to make sure everyone has input on, that everyone is in agreement, that everyone can get behind this purpose and goals. I want to make sure that this is a committee that works for everybody, that everyone feels like you can contribute to, and that we can also get workable things out of this group that make a difference for our region in terms of air quality. So literally anything that's in here, wordsmith the heck out of this document, whatever you want to change or add or subtract from this document, let's do it here. But let's just start from the top. Let's break this thing into pieces. And first off, what is the AQTC? So my quick stab at this is that the Air Quality Technical Committee is a collaborative group focused on developing and advancing initiatives aimed at addressing air quality issues and reducing air pollutants of concern, ensuring cleaner air for the Pikes Peak region's citizens and businesses. Does anyone want to edit that? Have thoughts on it? Anything? It's perfect. We don't have to make all these decisions all at once either. This is, I'm really just introducing this document today, but we'll come back in January and really hash this out and try to finalize this document in January. But for starters, does that make sense? Who is the AQTC to you guys? Do we agree we're all focused on air quality? Lots of thumbs up. Cool.
Hey, Angie.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think people need to digest this a little bit. You're going to walk through all of it, but I would ask folks to think about, this needs to be worth your time. Like, why do you show up? It needs to be of value to you. And when you're reviewing this, if you would please think about what would make this group more valuable to you, and provide your input based on that kind of mentality, I think that would be really, really helpful.
Thanks, Dina. Okay. Well, we can sit on that one with Dina's perspective in mind, everyone. So we'll come back to it. And as far as the purpose of the AQTC, again, thinking about what Dina said, what would make this meaningful to you? What would make this committee meaningful to you? We all come at air quality from a different perspective. Actually, I do want to pause. I was going to ask this towards the beginning of the meeting. As we think about the purpose of the AQTC, because you all do have a different kind of role in air quality, let's go around the room and let's hear from everyone. What is your role in air quality? How do you come at air quality? And how do you think this committee could help you in your work?
I'll start. This is Rick with CDPHE again. So I work for the Air Pollution Control Division at our Department of Public Health and Environment, and part of my role is developing big plans called state implementation plans to help areas either come into attainment or maintain attainment for national air quality standards. We also assist with developing regulations, sometimes implementing regulations aimed at improving air quality. We also manage some grants related to equipment for, or related to providing equipment that's basically cleaner for emission reductions. Yeah, and I think, we certainly have a strong interest in continuing to collaborate and participate with this group. The Springs is, I think, like the second largest city in the state as far as population goes, and a growing area. And I think there's some good energy behind this group, and I think, my participation can be, helping provide input on initiatives. And also, I think as we've discussed in previous meeting, my division's growing, so there's a lot of new things happening, like, you know, the presentation that we just had a few moments ago from Clyde and Jason. There's, you know, funding opportunities popping up, different groups that provide engagement opportunities, things like that. So yeah, hopefully I could help kind of connect the dots, and then we could also provide support on any initiatives that you all are planning, and also help keep you informed of things that are happening with our Air Quality Control Commission as well.
Great, thanks, Rick.
I can add a little bit onto that too from the monitoring perspective. You know, given that we are trying to expand a lot of our monitoring across the state, particularly in areas that are challenging to get to us. For us, it's imperative that we can develop collaborations with teams in the local communities that are very aware of the issues that you guys are facing that are specific to your communities, that you're hearing from your people or from your industry, and to help you know, us derive more intelligent monitoring programs that are trying to address the needs that are local to your communities. So the more you know, that we can develop this collaboration, I think there's a lot of benefit to that, and you know, you guys having a stronger voice in for your local communities, how the state can influence and help your programs as well.
It's a great point. Thanks.
I'll add on. I work with Rick at the APCD. My name is CV Melarengo, and I also do a lot of the work in helping with regulations and helping run the grants and things like that. And I have family who live in Colorado Springs, and so this is a little, you know, this is close to home for me in terms of making sure that the air quality down there is doing its bit, and that we're doing our bit to help with that. I just want to add, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that you can now turn on your own camera and mic, because when I came in, we weren't able to do that. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that that option was available to them if they wanted to participate in that way. Since I didn't hear it mentioned, I know turned on the chat, but yeah. So that's me adding in.
Thanks, Ivy.
I can kind of piggyback off of that. My name is James. I work with Montrose Environmental. We kind of have unique, I guess, partnership sometimes with the ACPD. You know, when they come out with new regulations, we're usually the first to get a hold of those, and then kind of broach that with them, kind of collaborate with them along with any potential clients who are going to have to adhere to those new regulations. And then also for some of this monitoring, we are at least the contractor for the shelters that we talked about at the beginning of this meeting, and do run a couple of the other shelters in the state of Colorado. We also do a bunch of testing for air quality throughout the state of Colorado. We run the Denver Love My Air program, both the software and the sensors. So we kind of just have unique partnership and collect a lot of air quality data. So I'd like to be on top of any new regulations and see where I can jump in and help out.
Thank you.
Can I add something, Angie? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Just wanted to note that I know when Clyde was talking, you know, he mentioned that we already have a contractor in place to establish that, and that contractor is Montrose, and James is working on that project, and they've been amazing in helping us getting that. But they are chomping at the bit to start getting some services installed so that we can all meet our deadlines. But yeah, we're pretty happy that they were awarded that contract. They have a very long-standing reputation of doing quality work, and we're looking forward to getting these sites set up down in Colorado Springs and in the southern part of the state. So one more plug for help.
I'll jump in here. So at City of Fountain, I'm the sustainability manager, and that's just me. We don't have a department or anything, so I'm also responsible for managing water and electric efficiency throughout the community. That being said, one of the things that I would like to gain from this group is really just the opportunity to collaborate on strategies to improve air quality across communities and organizations, and how can we share resources to really maximize our efforts. So that's what I'm hoping to gain as we revive the committee and continue to move forward.
Great, that's super helpful. Thank you.
I guess I can jump in next. I'm Chris Welch. I'm a senior environmental specialist with Colorado Springs Utility. My role at Utilities is to primarily oversee our air program, whether that's working with our great regulators at CDPHE to acquire new permits, modify permits, work through regulatory inspections, work through developing and implementing new regulatory processes, legislative items, working through our government affairs team. There's a whole gamut of things that we get engaged with and involved with in the air quality space. But being a community-owned municipal utility, we live in this area. We care about it, and we care about protecting the environment and being responsible environmental stewards as well. So this is an issue that's important to us and me personally. I think one thing with this committee is, we have some pretty technical, complex issues when it comes to air quality related matters. And I think whether it's in my professional life or my personal life, I still run into a lot of misunderstanding of air quality related information or air quality alerts and what they mean or might not mean. So I think a key role of this committee, in my mind, is continuing to really focus a lot of efforts on community outreach and education on these topics. Because we certainly want to make improvements to air quality over time, but I think there's a lot of aspects of air quality in our region that are already really great and a good story to tell. So just wanted to kind of focus on that. I'm even wondering if that education and outreach, I know it's in this purpose area of what's up on the screen, but might be worth bringing into kind of the overall goal paragraph and narrative that you had at the top of the screen, Angie.
Good, thank you.
Hi, this is Bob Tomlinson from Peterson Space Force Base. Our big thing is, under Space Force, we are rapidly expanding, both Peterson, Schriever, and Cheyenne Mountain. We need to collaborate with AQTC to make sure that we are able to meet all of our mission upgrade requirements that are coming down and changing on a daily basis. But I do see this as a good forum for us to interact, give some of our technical expertise. I've been doing air quality since 2000 in Colorado Springs, so I've got quite a bit of historic. I was on this committee for a long time until it kind of lapsed for a little bit. But just the ability to develop those relationships, lessons learned from the other people, and lessons learned we've come across as well, because of our missions and our operations, we cover a lot of unique areas that most businesses in Colorado Springs don't actually see as much of.
Awesome, thanks. I'd like to hear more about that and elaborate on that at some point in time. Thank you.
As Kevin Shrewsbury with Colorado Springs Utilities, basically same role with that Chris Welsh kind of went through. But I just kind of wanted to echo and tie together a couple things that we've heard with really maximizing efforts and costs, especially when it comes to community outreach. But I also really think that when there's community outreach and education, with a united front with the similar messaging, with all of the names and logos that would be behind this with the AQTC. I think that really helps support that message through the community. So.
Oh, I see a thumbs up there from, yeah, and that was actually an internal conversation we had about another thumbs up, great, about potentially, and this is a conversation maybe for down the road, but because it got brought up, I just want to mention it, creating our own brand, sort of, where this group, just like you said, Kevin, has united approach on education and outreach materials, and it's a recognizable brand. I mean, PPACG is not a recognizable brand. It doesn't float off the tongue that great. Doesn't have a nice, well, the logo could, it doesn't speak air quality when you see it. So maybe thinking about that for future action item of coming up with, what is the Pikes Peak air quality brand and how do we deliver that message to our community? So that's just an aside of something that we talked about potentially doing. I don't know if that has been a conversation in the past or not, but we can revisit that. So others want to share how you're involved in air quality and how you think that this committee can support your work? We haven't heard from everyone.
I can go next, Angie.
Sure.
So this is Dwayne again, El Paso County Public Health. I am the air quality program manager here for the county, and we provide partly the enforcement pieces of the regulation, the air quality regulations, CDPHE. But a lot of our work really does tailor toward education. So I look forward with working with the committee to provide coming up and providing more education pieces, just so that we can really focus on those preventative pieces than some of those reactive pieces on our end.
Great, thank you. Let's see, did anyone else want to share or have thoughts?
Evelyn has her hand up.
Hi,
go ahead.
sorry. I hope you all can hear me. I'm also under the weather. Thanks again for having us in this meeting. I hope it was helpful to hear from the ATOPS team. It's great to hear everyone's feedback. I am also with CDPHE with the Air Pollution Control Division. I work closely with everyone on this call from CDPHE. I am the unit supervisor for the Education and Community Opportunities Unit. We just go by ECO for short. As Jason said, we love our acronyms at the state, but my team focuses on outreach and education to all 64 counties, but it is for like 0 to 100 audience. And we do that in many ways of presentations or working with schools or doing community meetings. Right now we're creating a slew of educational materials like FAQ sheets on different air quality topics. So I would love to continue meeting with you all to co-brand any of these materials, or if there's any requests to work, to do an event or a presentation for the community, would also be on board for that. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Evelyn. And I did meet with your eco group a few weeks ago, and we're definitely looking for opportunities to collaborate, especially on the Air Quality Awareness Week efforts, and we'll continue to look for those opportunities as well. Okay, well, we have 10 minutes left in our meeting. I appreciate everyone sharing and talking about how this committee can align with your work. We definitely want to shape it in a way that works for everybody, that, so it's valuable for you. I don't want you to just show up and hate this meeting. I want everyone to, get something out of it. So I think that we don't have to run this meeting out if we don't need to. I think this has been a really good conversation. I would suggest if everyone just kind of oh, Dina has her hand up. Go ahead.
No, finish your thought and then I have
Okay.
something to share.
Everyone just kind of think about this conversation, let it soak in. What does this committee mean to you? How do you want it to be shaped in order for you to get something out of it? How can we be more collaborative and do work that matters for everybody? And then let's take those thoughts, bring them back in January. We actually are thinking about doing a January in-person meeting. I'll send out information on that. But we'll plan to get together and really think about what the purpose is of the AQTC with this conversation in mind. So we can edit this thing, but we want to have some sort of written, agreed upon scope and purpose. So we'll talk more about it, but thank you everyone for the conversation. Dina, go ahead.
So with that, Angie, I would just suggest that you ask folks to get you edits by a certain timeline with the intent of trying to finalize it for the January meeting so that you can make the January meeting maybe a little bit more effective as opposed to kind of letting it linger.
Sure, we can do that. Does everyone like the idea of, sort of taking this document and redlining it on your own and then sending it back to me? And then I'll compile? 1 thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. Cool. All right. All right, so everyone has the document then. I think that was a good suggestion. And so if you want to just take it, shred it to pieces, rework it however you see fit, and send it back to me, and I'll try to compile everyone's thoughts. And then we'll go from there, and that could be slightly more productive in January. All right. Then, one informational item we have left on the agenda is just wanted to let you guys know that we submitted a grant application for the Mountains and Plains Environmental Justice Thriving Communities Grant. Again, an acronym, we'll just call it MAP-EJ. It's kind of a long name there. But the program that we submitted a grant for would be to help community residential households and businesses located within disadvantaged communities exchange their gas-powered lawn equipment for electric lawn equipment. We are also partnering, assuming we get awarded the grant, we partnered with the Regional Air Quality Council out of the Denver area to administer that program. So hopefully we get awarded. It's almost $350,000 to sort of provide vouchers, basically an incentive program for people to transition their equipment. There's also an online calculator that the RAC has showing that that's actually really meaningful in terms of emissions. So hopefully we get the grant, but I will keep everyone posted on that.
Angie, when will you hear on that?
Apparently sometime in January.
Okay, good.
So everyone keep your fingers crossed until January. Well, until we hear back. Keep your fingers crossed. Okay. Any member entity announcements in the last few minutes? Okay, seeing none. Our meeting schedule, I mentioned, we're looking to potentially have an in-person meeting in January. I will keep everyone posted on what that looks like. And then if there are no other comments or questions, please send me your red lines to that scope and purpose document. And if you'd like to redline the ground rules, feel free to do that too. But focus on the scope and purpose, and we will revisit that document in January. No, please. Oh, also deadline. Please send me your edits. Sorry, sick brain. That's the out I'm gonna take. Send me your edits to that within the beginning of January, so that we can have them. So I can have them ready for this meeting, for our next meeting. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Talk to you
Angie.
soon.
Thanks, Angie.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Angie. Hope you feel better soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.